Hello everybody and welcome back to Kerbal Space Program, where last episode we did a quick test of this re-entry system and the results were encouraging. We didn't quite have the attitude that we wanted to have, and that's in part due to the weight distribution here. If we take a look at the center of mass, you can see this is the point of weight here. So having more chutes out over this direction will help us, and that'll slow us down a little bit more too, so that'll be a good thing. So for now, we should run a test with this and see how slowly we get going with it. We could keep tossing more chutes onto it, or we could have retro rockets. And retro rockets, just for the last little bit of the landing portion, might end up being the way to go here. Let's put this out on the pad, and let's see how this does. So we don't really care too much about most of the parameters here, right? That's for sure. What I want to do is I want to see what attitude we come in at with those added parachutes and what speed we come in at. Those are the two things that matter here. Everything else in this test, which is going to be reverted, is fairly irrelevant. Are we actually sitting on our wheels? Odd. Okay, well that doesn't really matter. So we're going to place our orbit at a minimum orbit over Duna, and this will be fine. As soon as we're loaded in, we're going to hop over to retrograde. There we go, and this is not a minimum orbit. Right. This would be a minimum orbit over Kerbal. So we're going to set the orbit like that. Now we're at a minimum Duna orbit. Excellent. We'll hop over to retrograde. There we go. And of course, we'll warp our way around a little bit. Okay. We'll just bring this around to the light side and that'll be fine. Excellent. So we're now approximately on the light side of Duna. Let's position ourselves purely retrograde here, and we can get ourselves oriented. We could also extend out these hydraulic cylinders. This is something we should probably actually learn how to use an action group for. Because it's kind of tedious. I've never actually used action groups in this game, and I probably should. So let's just do that for right now. We need to clear our input blocker because we don't have comms on this right now, and that's understood. We will have a comm network on this eventually, but for right now, this is absolutely fine. So we're just going to put ourselves actually at horizontal velocity minus, and we're going to burn off all of this fuel. So let's activate this engine. And I'm going to physics warp us. Oh, that was some awkward camera movement. We're going to physics warp us as we slow down our horizontal movement here. I'm not sure what our horizontal speed is going to end up being. We still have some, for sure. This isn't enough fuel to fully get that, but that's fine. So now we want it to be at radial minus here. So we're just going to position to that, and that's going to change, of course, as we come in. If we look at our current position here, you can see why it's changing, because we are in this trajectory here, and it's just going to get more and more towards the horizon as we get further down. So that's absolutely understood. We're going to be coming in at this angle. We are in atmosphere right now, and I'm going to activate all of our chutes. There we go. So that's all of our chutes activated, and they will turn on eventually. You can see we're still speeding up right now, although aerodynamic forces are going to want to force us to be engine first here, much like this. We could use that to our advantage and have that be our retro rocket, actually, now that I think about it. So yeah, it wants to push us down to here, like this. And then we try to bring ourselves back up. You can see that we're slowing down. If we go into radar altitude mode here, there we go. And these should be deploying shortly, these drogue chutes. They're armed, right? Yeah, they're armed. So they'll be deploying now. There go the drogues. Drogues are deploying. Mains are out. And at this point, we want to be at horizontal velocity minus, ideally. So this is definitely doing a lot better on the attitude, or it was. Okay. It's better on the attitude, but it is trying to dip nose down. How are we doing on electric charge? That's not a concern. So that's absolutely fine. If we used this as a retro rocket, that is a viable option, actually. I was thinking originally of having retro rockets like along here, but in this attitude, that's interesting. So the additional chutes, as you can see, didn't slow us down very much, and I didn't expect them to. The main goal behind this is to get us into a less vertical orientation and a more horizontal one. We're definitely still struggling with that, and there are a few things that we could do, a few different approaches that we could take to reducing the issue here. We could add more mass over here, which if we had a retro rocket here, that's something we would do. So this is 360 and 440. Okay. So this is going to go boom when we hit the ground. That's not surprising in the slightest, but this attitude is improved. I'm not going to call it great. And our speed is improved as well. It's dropped by about 4 meters per second. And this is going to go boom. Yeah, that was expected. So let's pull this back to the VAB at this point. That's actually getting really, really close. So one thing that I want to think about doing, I don't feel like we actually need additional drogue chutes. So I'm going to ditch these drogue chutes here. And instead, we're going to add additional radial mount parachutes here. And then we're going to make sure that these are at the correct altitude. 40-50 is good enough. That'll be fine. So what I want to do now is I want to say 360 and 440, huh? Well, let's have the minimum amount that we can put in here. So we're adding a little bit of weight into this, and that is intended for, well, the retro rockets are going to be... It depends on what orientation we are with these additional chutes here. It really, really depends. I think we have to run another test here. Yeah, I think we can't. We can't determine that yet. We need to know what orientation we're in, because the retro rockets need to be facing, by that point, almost entirely down. So we need to know what orientation the parachutes are putting us in so that we know what way to face the retro rockets, right? If we end up going with a retro rocket solution, which I suspect we will. Also, I want to pull this back to the VAB, actually, because I want to try to experiment a bit with action groups. Specifically, I want to, let's see, actions. Okay, so what I want then is I want to gear, light, blah, blah, blah. So there's action groups here. This is a stage action group, gear, light, RCS, SAS, brakes, abort. That's all like completely default, right? So I think what we need here is a custom action group. I have no idea how to work this. Activate action sets. Oh, okay. So we've got these 4 action sets here. I don't know how this works. So if we have, say, set 1 here and we override default, what does that do? Ah. Okay. That seems to have changed this for all of the 1P2 hydraulic cylinders. Okay. So now if we save this and put it out on the pad, and we activate the action group, what does that do? Also, how do we activate the action group? We'll find out. Because that will be way better for us to actually have that knowledge. It's something I should have learned a long time ago. I just never did. So let's see what we've got going on here. We're out on the pad. And now we want to activate an action group, right? How do we do this? So these are just standard action groups here, for sure. I think there's a hotkey, which I don't think we can see from this menu. I think we need to be at a better menu. Okay. Action sets. Set 1. This actually only moved this one. Okay, good to know. So we'll pull that back to the VAB. So we've learned how to activate the action group. That's great. but it doesn't actually have everything set up correctly. So we need to go into the custom O1 action group, and that's the 1P2 hydraulic cylinder. So then we need to have this be selected here like this. Can this only do 4? No, I think I know what's going on here. We need to be in set 1. I think I know how to read this. So if we're in set 1, we have this one selected, target extension, boom. Okay, that's how this works. Gotcha. So at that point, we can put this guy in here, and we just have to do this for all 8. So target extension out to maximum, target extension out to maximum, and target extension out to maximum, and one more. Like that. That should do it. Okay, save and launch. That's a little confusing with the way that that's presented, but I think I understood it. So now all of our hydraulic extenders should, in theory, be part of that. And I'm wondering, because we have one action to extend them, does activating it again put it back to its original state, or do we need another action for that? I don't intend necessarily to ever unextend them. So that's definitely something that we'll figure out. So there's set 1. They have indeed extended. Okay, cool. Now, as you can see, they're struggling to lift this under Kerbal gravity. We've got a bunch of fuel in here. Kerbal gravity is higher than Duna. This isn't surprising. So let's go back to default. Yeah, they did not, in fact, drop that. So if we wanted to do that, we would need to revert this back to vehicle assembly, and in the default, we would need to set all of them to a minimum extension, I think. So if we go into Custom O1 Default, we select this guy, target extension should be at, like, minimum. And then we just have to go all the way through all of these. Target extension being, of course, minimum. Okay, so that should now, on default, have them all be back over here. Cool. So if we save that and put that out on the pad, we now have an action group set up for that, and that'll be far, far less tedious for us. So that's a very good thing. But that doesn't actually solve any of our current fundamental problems, right? Our problems right now are that we're not holding attitude horizontally enough, and that we're moving too fast on landing. Those are our 2 primary issues, and we need to test to see if the parachute changes have altered that. But first... Okay, sure. I set it back to default. They don't appear to actually... Huh. They don't appear to be moving. Is it because we have input blocks? No, they're just automatically setting back to here. Okay, let's revert this back to launch. Let's put it in space and see what happens in space. Without those explosions, that would maybe, be a little helpful. I am still concerned about landing on those wheels, but if we're moving slowly enough, it should be fine. The retro rockets will hopefully get that solved enough. So for now, let's just put this into orbit around Duna. This is a minimum safe orbit around Duna in theory. Yep, that's a minimum safe orbit. And I'm just going to warp us around to, like, here. So around we go. So that we can actually see things. We're going to go to horizontal velocity minus. And really, horizontal velocity minus is where we want to be sitting the whole time. I think going to radial minus is kind of overkill. We're not having issues with going too fast for our shoots, so I don't think that'll be a problem. Okay, clear the input blocker for now, and bringing this guy right on around like so. Overshooting this for sure. Okay, position it about here, activate the engine, and let's go. So we're just going to do something like this. I'm going to leave it on horizontal velocity minus, and we're just going to warp our way on through this. Okay, so we're burning out all of this fuel. We could have a little bit more fuel in there for sure and reduce our horizontal speed a little bit. So this is giving us a little bit more atmospheric cushion than we actually should have. But for now, this is fine. So we're going to warp down to the actual atmosphere point, which is, what, 50 kilometers? Yeah, 50 kilometers. So we're actually starting up 10 kilometers higher than we would in reality. So this is kind of compensating for the fact that we are coming in at a slight angle here and getting a little more air than we should. So that seems fine. I'm going to activate all of our parachutes because we shouldn't have any issues with them being overstressed. And we're just going to physics warp on down. And we can see all of that happening. I want to enable our action group set 1, and we can see that these guys have hit a target extension of 0.4. Huh. That's interesting. So that is where the aerodynamics want to point us down towards retrograde, and we're currently fighting that with our reaction wheel. We lose this fight, of course. We know that. And this causes us to build up quite a lot of additional speed that we would lose to aerodynamics. But for now, this is fine. We're just going to bring this down. Our drogues are going to pull us around a little bit. And there go the mains. So once the mains open... Oh... So that's too much. Let's see where this settles. It is currently heading down towards the horizon. But we clearly have too much pull over here now with the 3 chutes. What happens if we cut this chute? That's pretty good, actually. That's quite good. We're holding attitude basically perfectly horizontally. That's what we want to see. Now, this isn't where we want to come down, obviously. But this is a pretty good angle of coming down. Our speed is still too high. This is a problem that I will likely look to solve with retro rockets. More chutes are not really going to be too helpful on that front. I think we found a good balance for these chutes. This basically means eliminating this chute here. But we're clearly coming down too fast. And also, the target extension here not being maximum is not ideal. So we're coming down at about 20 meters per second, a little over. This is too much. We obviously want to be coming down much, much, much slower than this. And this is not flat terrain either. We're going to want to come down on flat terrain. So, kaboom! But that's definite progress right there. So let's pull that back. And we now know that we want to ditch this guy. That can get out of here. Now, in this Rockamax, we're going to do that. A small amount of fuel here. In fact, we probably don't even want to have that much fuel here. Probably not. We could also theoretically jettison this, but I think for now, having it here will be kind of useful. So that seems okay. One thing I want to address is the fact that these are only going out to a target extension of 0.4. And why is that happening? So let's go into custom 01 here. And we can see this is under default, and then this is set 1. So this is the input response speed. Oh, I see what it's doing. Okay, so in that case, yeah, I get what's happening here. This is a little awkward, but I definitely understand this now. So what we need to do is, how did I do this before? Ah, right here. We need to get rid of all of these. Because as you can see here, this is all at target extension of 0, which means that we need to put this into the default at the target extension here. And this can be at 20% per second. That's fine. So we'll add this in, and 20 is okay. So this is the response speed here. And to be honest, this doesn't need to be fast. We could honestly have these at 1%. That's okay. But we need to set these in, and this is taking the current extension, is what it's doing. So we need to put all of this in like this. Then we go into set 1, and we need to go through all of these and set these to have a maximized target extension, like this. Because it takes the current extension and sets that as the target. So we need to do that, like this. And then we need to go through each of these in set 1 and do target extension here. And having it be very slow is probably for the best. Slow is better at this point. Let's see. I just did this twice. Okay. So there we go. So we're setting the target extension for each of these at this point. Like that. Okay. So I'm going to save this now. And then if we go back into here, can we set these to be at the point of default without actually doing anything here? I don't see the action groups over this way. Okay. Yeah, I don't see that. So I think we're just going to have these be retracted like this now that it's set up. It's understood that this is how this works, and now that we know that it works this way, I'm going to run a test on that, of course, but we're also going to have some retro rockets tossed onto this. Now, I don't think we're going to need many of them. So, for now, we've got a small amount of fuel in these tanks. That should be plenty, and we're just going to have on here just a couple of these. And I'm thinking right now that we're probably going to end up going... We could have thuds on here. I don't love that concept. I was intending to use twitches. I don't actually see them in here. Do we not have them unlocked right now? We've got the K and Ks on here. Landing assists. That's interesting. We might not actually have twitches unlocked at this moment. So if we were to do thuds, that's a little on the big side. We could do ants. That's interesting. Okay, this is bigger than I want it to be, for sure. But if we were to do something like that, these are inverted. Okay, we probably mirror symmetry. No. It's trying to mirror like that. Okay, we'll have to do these manually. So I'm putting it right on that marker right there. Although, I think that's different over here. No, it's not. Okay. So rotating it like that, and then this one would be right on this marker. And then duplicate that right on this marker here. Okay. So approximately something like this. Now, this is probably going to be too much thrust. These are very large, but let's check on Duna here. 3.57. Yeah, we're going to want to have those be throttled down for sure. So that's understood. Let's go ahead and save this, and we'll give this one more test here. I don't want to have thuds long term, but just to make sure that we can actually have this work correctly, that's what we're going to do. Okay. Any moment you want to load in KSP, that would be great. This is taking a while. I don't know why that one took so long to load. Okay, well, we're going to, of course, put this over Duna once more. And we'll get into position here. So I'll just warp around to, like, here. Seems fine. We're going to want to put ourselves on horizontal velocity minus, and we're never going to want to come off of horizontal velocity minus unless our horizontal velocity reverses. But to be honest, it probably won't. Okay, so horizontal velocity minus is where we want to be. And we'll rotate ourselves around. We'll need to clear our input blocker because, of course, we don't have comms set up here. That's fine. I want to test our action groups. So we'll do set 1. And that extended to 0.4 again. Interesting. Okay, so this is still broken. I'll have to try to figure out how that's supposed to work. But for now, it doesn't really matter. They are technically low enough, but let's just go ahead and do this. So we don't want to pull out of this, right? So let's make sure that we disable crossfeed here. So that way we're only pulling from this tank. Okay, let's activate this engine, and down we go. So we're just decelerating here, making sure that we're not pulling from this tank, and we're not. So that looks great. Okay, so now we're out of fuel there. I'm going to throttle us down, and I'm turning on the chutes. This also turns on these engines. These engines are now activated. So that seems good. And let's warp on down until we enter the atmosphere. Hopefully we won't be landing right here this time. And we're just going to physics warp on down now that we're in the atmosphere. And the question is this going to put us in a decent position? We don't have, like, we don't have burn information here, but that's fine. I don't actually care. We're not going to need to burn very much. This is way too much fuel, to be clear. Way, way, way too much fuel. So that's absolutely fine. We're going to get ourselves down soon here. We haven't been pulled around this time due to the added weight over here. That's interesting. This is really, really holding us at horizontal velocity minus. Our speed is up from where it was previously. So that's noted. We're going faster than we were, but our attitude is holding much better. That might mean that our parachute isn't set up the way we want it to be. We'll see. There's the drogues slowing us down, and there's the mains. Well now. We can transfer fuel if we need to. So we can enable crossfeed here, and then we can pin this and then transfer the fuel over here if we want to nose down more. Which I do. And you can see that's definitely nosing us down more. Okay, so that's putting us basically exactly where we want to be. We'll just finish that here. There we go. And with that fuel crossfeed, these should still fire. Let's test that quick. Yes. This should be shut down. Okay, we'll just put this in kill rot for right now. And we can see we're definitely... we've got some thrust offset here. That's noted. It's wanting to push this down, and that's not surprising. We should probably move these over to here. So we can see with that added weight, we're definitely going a little faster here. Oh yeah, that's a bit problematic. We'll just do a big puff right about now. Okay. Yeah, so thrust offset is absolutely a problem, but that is definitely a step in the right direction. So with that in mind, what I want to do now is I want to move this engine to be about here. I want to move it up as much as we can there, and then this engine about here. And then these engines, I'm going to move to be back here. Mass distribution is absolutely going to be a concern there. So something along the lines of that will help matters considerably. As we can see, the center of thrust here is a little off because of this guy. If we detach this, we can see the center of thrust and the center of mass are not entirely aligned, but they're kind of close. And that center of mass is going to be further back this way with the boodle attached. You can see that's how far it's going to move. So the center of thrust will definitely be a little off there, but I'm hoping it won't be quite as off as it was. That would be the goal. So that's definitely interesting. That also means we may not have to move fuel with the thuds being back here instead of being up here. We'll see. For now, it is time to put a cut in here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And next episode, I think we're probably going to end up finalizing this, although I really don't like this using thuds. I would prefer twitches here just due to size. But for now, this is fine. With us going to Duna, we can't really parachute it down the way I'd really like to, but it's okay. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Dark Horse, Ethan Feldman, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.